Welcome to part 2 on the relationship between ADHD and learning disability. Here in part 2 is where I talk about ADHD. Before I start talking about it, I have a reminder that I'm giving you my analysis. Any proper diagnosis is not by me and not by watching this presentation. Proper diagnosis has to be done by the correct trained professional. So what is ADHD, which is short for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder? It is a neurodevelopmental condition, which means it relates to the brain and the nervous system and how they function and develop. A key factor, but not the only factor, is a deficiency in the neurotransmitters dopamine and norepinephrine. And ADHD affects, among other things, focus, reward, motivation, and also has hyperactivity, impulsivity, and alert problems and issues relating to alertness. ADHD is not a single trait. It's a collection of traits. And if a person has the correct number of them or minimum number of them with a correct combination and with sufficient intensity, they meet the criteria for formal diagnosis. And for that reason, obviously, no two people with ADHD are the same. I remember many years ago, I saw a documentary on ADHD with a married couple, both husband and wife were properly diagnosed. The husband was disorganized, always looking for things. The wife was very neat and knew where everything is, and neither of them understood the other. The husband says, how does one keep organized? Because you take something to use, this pencil or a book or whatever, and you're distracted, you forget that you put it there because you got put something else grab your attention, and you just can't keep track with things. Oh, how does my wife do it? And the wife says, I don't understand my husband. What's so difficult about keeping organized? You finish with something, you put it back where you found it. What's the problem? So that shows no two people with ADHD are the same. And there's a married couple who did not understand each other. So now to look at some common characteristics regarding ADHD. And of course, as I said earlier, every person's different. Every person with ADHD is different. There's organizational challenges. There's difficulty with time management or completing tasks, often due to distraction. You're in the middle of doing this and you see something interesting there. Oh, yes, I must do that as well. And therefore, multitasking is difficult. People with ADHD have difficulty forming habits. Like, let's say you want to start a new habit. Every morning you want to do this, and that. Before you go to bed, you do this, brush your teeth, among other things. You have to take medicine at certain times of day. And if this person phones you, you have to do that after that phone call. A person with ADHD can create his habits, but it takes them much longer to form the habits than most people. ADHD comes with frequent inattention. You're easily distracted, even when you're trying to pay attention, and you're not always a good listener, especially in the classroom or a lecture. And sometimes the problem is not that you don't have attention, it's too much attention. You're paying attention to everything. As that person's talking, you're paying attention to that picture on the wall. You're paying attention to the pattern on the floor. You're paying attention to the fact that someone painted their door to a different color. And the interesting ceiling, I never realized before the coloring on that ceiling. So you're paying attention to too much of everything other than what you're supposed to be paying attention to. And also with this inattention, and you also frequently forget instructions, you forget daily responsibilities, make more careless mistakes than most people, lose things or misplace things more than other people, lots of daydreaming more than other people. And you notice I said earlier, ADHD comes with frequent inattention. I use that wording intentionally. I did not say constant inattention. because the misconception with ADHD is that it's always inattention. It's really an unusual distribution of attention, because someone with ADHD with the right trigger and the right thing grabs your attention at the right manner and the correct topic, the person with ADHD can go into super hyper focus that's completely intense and sustained. And something else with ADHD, the working memory of what you're thinking about now is smaller than other people. Here's a fun picture of a table with 3 objects, like 2 books and that's a bottle of water. Let's pretend this is your working memory. Someone with ADHD, it's a little bit smaller than other people. You cannot fit as much on this table. So at the moment I'm working on this task, a friend phones me. While I'm talking to my friend, I must remember to finish the task. But the problem is, for most people, you know how to finish that task. When you finish the friend, you continue with the task, but you've forgotten. You see that table, that's your working memory, that one task disappears. You start looking at that, this will disappear because it's a smaller table if I use that. Or here's a list of things to do. You have to do A, B, C, D, and E. You have to phone someone, you have to tidy the drawer, you have to check this. So you're going through the list on the tasks. You're doing the third one. When you're doing your third one, something grabs your attention. You've completely forgotten about 4, 5, 6, or whatever, 7 or whatever. It's no longer on your mind. And oh, yes, you've made a list so you don't forget, but you've forgotten about that list. You took the trouble to write that list, but when that thing grabbed your attention, you forgot you made that list. So it's that working memory of what you were thinking of at the moment is smaller than most people. ADHD often comes with restlessness and hyperactivity, especially in children. There's fidgeting, squirming, or bouncing in the same place, or difficulty staying in the same seat, sometimes talking excessively, sometimes difficulty waiting your turn, or if you're not careful, you'll interrupt someone else. And sometimes you're scared you'll forget. You see, if you're listening, you might forget what you're going to say, because that working memory is a little bit smaller. And of course, everything interrelated relates to attention as well. And everyone's different with ADHD. Sometimes there's emotional regulation problems that relate to also impulsivity or low frustration tolerance, frequent mood swings, and not easy coping with stress. And there's another misconception that ADHD disappears when the child becomes an adult. I made up this fun story to put this into context. Let's say a person has an allergy to grass, and he has a job 5 days a week working on a farm. That's a big problem, allergic to grass and working on a farm. Now he gets a new job. He works on the 14th floor of a building in the city, 5 days a week. That allergy to grass physiologically is exactly the same, but it does not have nearly as much of an impact as it did before. And that's the same thing with ADHD. It's not that it disappears as an adult, it doesn't have the same impact, because I think in the classroom is probably where ADHD is affected the most. Whereas as an adult, hopefully we can try control that environment. And I do think ADHD is very dependent on what environment you are in, which affects the impact of it. And thank you all for watching. Arguably, ADHD is not a label, but it's a lens. It's a different way of seeing, reacting, or focusing. It's often invisible, but that doesn't make it any less real. People with ADHD deserve support, not judgment. Next, in part 3, we're going to explore learning disabilities, which bring their own lens and their own challenges. Thank you.